Hey guys, tonight we step quietly past the veil where the edge of life begins to blur and something brighter begins to stir. Imagine this, you're floating, not falling, not flying, just effortlessly gliding through a space that's not really a space. Your body is back there somewhere, but you don't miss it. The air, if that's what this is thick with silence, like velvet wrapped around a hymn. Shapes glow without light. Sound travels like thought. And something deep inside you, older than breath, whispers you are not dreaming, you are remembering. You've reached the threshold, not the end, the beginning. This is what it feels like to brush against heaven. And just so you know, you probably won't survive this journey unless you've got wings or a direct line to the Almighty. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop your location and local time in the comments. I love knowing where in the world you're listening from. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The moment it begins, you're not afraid. You expected maybe a tunnel, maybe clouds, maybe a booming voice with a checklist, but instead you arrive in stillness, pure, full-bodied stillness. And you know without knowing that this is heaven's doorway. The light doesn't blind you, it knows exactly how much you can take. It shimmers like water you can walk through, rippling with colors that have no earthly names. And you don't hear music, you feel it. It vibrates softly in your chest like a harp string plucked by someone who knows your every sorrow. Some say near-death experiences are just the brain's way of making sense of dying. But others argue they're the soul's way of remembering where it came from. In this moment, you lean toward the second. You aren't greeted immediately. Not by a person, not by a figure. First, you are greeted by a sensation, welcome. Like the first time someone really looked at you and smiled like they saw something worth loving. Except now it's the universe doing the smiling. Suddenly, something shifts. The silence pulls back like a curtain and you sense you're not alone. Not quite seen, but known. Presence plural, and from the corner of your awareness you sense watchers, not judging, not cold, watching with love, watching with joy. These are angels, though not the kind draped in robes or flapping wings. These are beings of resonance like sentient starlight. One hovers close enough to sense. You feel it before you see it. It doesn't speak, it reminds you. Reminds you of that time you stopped for the crying stranger. Of that moment you forgave when you didn't have to. Of your grandmother's prayer echoing in your DNA. It says all this not in words but in warmth, a feeling that folds into your bones. And then it begins. The panorama of your life opens like a scroll. Not just memories, but meaning. You see the moments that rippled out into eternity without you knowing. The time you gave $5 and thought it was nothing, now you see the man it helped feed, and the prayer he whispered, and the child who felt that echo of hope. One action, infinite echoes. You thought your story was small, but here you realize your story was stitched into others like golden thread in a tapestry of souls. And here's something strange, you can hear the prayers people are saying for you back home. Some frantic, some soft. One whisper from your mom that you didn't know she still says every night. And the angel closest to you, it hums in response, as if catching the prayer and weaving it into you. Then there's a hallway ahead, but it's alive. Breathing, shimmering. Not like the hospital ones you remember. This is a passage of peace. And somehow you know if you walk through it, there's no going back. Not because you're being kept, but because you won't want to. You pause. The angel turns slightly, just enough for you to catch a glimpse, not a face, but a shape formed of memory and mercy. A wing maybe, a shimmer. It feels like seeing all the kindest things you've ever known standing in front of you in one being. And then you laugh. Yes, you, here on the edge of eternity, you laugh. Because somewhere, somehow you realize death isn't the monster we made it out to be. It's not an ending. It's a door quietly opening into a home you forgot you had. But it's only the beginning. You take one more breath, not with lungs, but with soul, and you step forward. And heaven leans in. You glide forward, not walking, not floating exactly, but moving in a way that makes gravity feel like a faded memory. The air around you thickens with warmth, not heat, but something sacred and silky, like being wrapped in a hymn no one's ever sung out loud. And then, there it is, the tunnel of light. Except it's not really a tunnel. Not in the way we think. It isn't narrow or dark at the edges, and it doesn't pull you like a vacuum. No, this is more like an embrace, wide and glowing, pulsing gently as if it breathes. You don't enter it. It welcomes you. And that light, it isn't just brightness, it's layered. It shimmers in familiar ways, like sunrise through your childhood curtains, like candlelight at your grandmother's table, like the beam that found you the night you wanted to give up but didn't. The light knows you, and that's the first surprise. It's personal. You realize quickly this passage isn't made of energy, it's made of memory. As you pass, deeper scenes begin to bubble up around you. Not just images, but feels. That's right, feelings that unfold into visions. Moments that mattered, moments that healed, and oddly enough, some that hurt. But even those are different here. Here they're softened, the edges dulled. You can observe them without flinching. Theologians have long debated what the tunnel of light might be. Some believe it's the soul's journey into higher dimensions. Others think it's the mind interpreting divine transition. But here now you know it's something like a hallway of your own becoming. A path lined not with torches or signs, but with who you've been, who you are, and who you're still becoming. And as you move, you notice patterns. Certain moments repeat not like echoes, but like motifs in a song. That late-night prayer you mumbled through tears at 16. Here it is again, except now it's a shimmering node of golden light, vibrating with power. You had no idea it had been heard, but here you see it was. You pass what looks like a turning point, a moment in your life when you almost gave up. It hovers in the light like a suspended ripple. You feel the weight of it again, but something is different. There's a presence next to it, like someone was there. And you realize you weren't alone in that dark night. There was an angel, silent and unseen, holding your hope together like a thread. And now you wonder how many other times were they near. The tunnel bends slightly and you feel a pull, not away, but deeper. A hush falls around you. The light thickens, turning a soft ivory gold like honey warmed by heaven itself. You feel something approach. A sound. Not quite a voice, more like a low, warm vibration. And it's calling you. Not with your earthly name, but something older, something truer. You don't know how you understand it, but you do. It's your name as it was first spoken by the one who dreamt you into being. And then a quiet joke pops into your head. Looks like the afterlife has better acoustics than your old church choir. You grin because somehow humor survives. Even here. Maybe God has a better sense of humor than we think. There's movement in the distance, not ahead, behind. You glance back and see shadows at the entrance to the tunnel. Not dark or threatening, just wistful. Shapes of people who never stepped forward. Souls who saw this place and turned away. Fear, guilt. Nobody tells you. They're just waiting or wandering. Some say the light judges, others say it forgives. You feel neither in this moment. What you feel is invitation. The tunnel isn't demanding, it's offering. And for you, that offer pulls like gravity of the soul. Then comes the second surprise. There are others here. Not around you, within you. You begin to feel connections stir. Loved ones, ancestors, strangers you once helped. People whose lives brushed against yours for a moment, whose ripple you never noticed. You see a woman you passed in the grocery line years ago. Her eyes tired, her cart empty. You gave her a smile, nothing else. She remembers. Here that smile glows like a pearl suspended in amber. It changed her more than you'll ever know. And you wonder how many other moments like that have you forgotten. The tunnel begins to fade, or maybe it folds into something else. The light opens wider, broader, until there are no edges, no walls. Just radiance, like standing inside the sun, if it were made of love instead of fire. And just before you move on, you notice something small, almost hidden, a flicker off to the side. It's a memory, but not yours. It's the memory of someone who loved you and is praying you'll come back. A child's voice, soft and hopeful, a whispered plea, please don't go. And you pause, because maybe, just maybe, this is not the end of your journey. Not yet. Still, the tunnel has done its work. It's shown you what mattered and what didn't. It's reminded you that nothing is wasted, that every tear held a meaning, that light is never lost, only waiting. And as you stand there, half here, half there, you feel something pass through you. Not wind, not sound, a promise. The tunnel fades, but its glow lingers. And now the next revelation waits. The light dims, but not with darkness. It dims the way a candle flickers right before dawn, like it knows it's not needed as much anymore. And in that gentler glow, you begin to feel something alive. Not ahead of you, but beside you. Just slightly out of view. The sense of presence tightens like a hug you haven't earned, but are somehow given anyway. There's no sound of footsteps, no flapping of wings, but the air changes, thicker, holier, and then you know. The angels are here, not as paintings ever imagined them, not the blonde-haired choir boys or the stone-cold warriors of stained glass. No, these beings are vast yet tender. Their presence is music, but also weight, like standing too close to truth itself. They don't approach so much as unfold like stars blooming open. You turn or feel turned toward one of them, not because you want to look, but because you have to. And there, shimmering in folds of what looks like moving silk and light and memory, is an angel. It has no face, not one that holds features. But its essence gleams with recognition. You don't know it, and yet you do. This being has seen you, not just your best moments. It knows the times you shouted in traffic. It knows the night you cried alone and told God you were tired of everything. It knows, and still it stands here radiant and utterly unashamed of you. Some believe angels are simply messengers, celestial postmen, ferrying divine memos back and forth. Others think they are guardians assigned from birth watching and shielding. And still others imagine them as warriors battling unseen wars on your behalf. But here's what you learn now: they are all that, and more. They are the keepers of echo, of your echo. Every laugh, every scream, every silent please, they've held it all. The one before you now glows a little brighter. Not out of pride, but out of joy. Pure, unfiltered joy that you're here, that you've come this far. Its wings stretch, or maybe the idea of wings. They ripple like heat above a flame feathered in light that pulses with emotion. And then from nowhere a memory, sharp, sudden, sacred. You were 7, you'd fallen off your bike and knocked the wind out of yourself. For a moment the world went still, and in that breathless, terrifying second you remember a warmth, a strange, invisible comfort settling around you. That was this angel. You don't know how you know. You just do. It moved then as it moves now, without sound but not in silence, with presence. And here's the wildest part: it's not just your angel. These beings aren't assigned like security guards. They're woven into your story. They're part of it. 1,000 quiet interventions, none of which you knew were happening. The time you swerved just in time. The time you got the job you weren't qualified for. The time your heartbreak somehow didn't break you. You credited luck, coincidence, maybe even your own grit. But no, it was them, or him through them. And now in this thin place between breath and eternity, they are seen. The angel begins to move, though not away, more like alongside, as if inviting you further. And here comes one of those soft jokes your sleepy mind loves. Ah, so this is my personal Uber Seraphim. You chuckle because somehow even here your humor survives the crossing. You walk or drift alongside the angel through a new kind of corridor. Not one made of walls. This one is shaped by sound. You hear it before you see it, gentle tones rising and falling like lullabies wrapped in prayer. Every sound is a soul arriving. You realize you're not the only one. Others are crossing right now. You can feel them, their fear, their wonder, their joy. All distinct, all beloved. There's a pulse to this place, a rhythm, and then it hits you. It's a heartbeat. Not yours, not even heaven's. It's his. The heartbeat of God. Each beat echoes with a name, a purpose, a memory, and the angel nods, whether in agreement or praise you can't quite tell. You glance around. There are others here too, more angels, each escorting someone, some alone, some in pairs, some tiny like children wrapped in celestial light. One drifts past, carrying a woman whose eyes are still wet with earthly tears. Another holds a man by the hand, not lifting him, but steadying him like an old friend. And for the first time in all of this, you realize something important. No one crosses alone. No matter who they were, no matter what they did, no matter how their story ended, everyone is met, everyone is known. Some believe you earn angelic escort by virtue or holiness. But now you see differently. You're not escorted because you were good. You're escorted because you were loved. That's the rule here, that's the constant. And as you and your angel draw near to what feels like a threshold, you glance at the being beside you and wonder something deeply human. Do angels ever rest? The answer comes not in words, but in essence. When love is your nature, rest is found in service. You smile, because somehow that makes perfect sense. The path shifts beneath you, not turning, not ending, but unfolding. The light now feels more golden than white, as if it's remembered sunlight instead of radiance. The angel beside you slows, not because it's tired, but as if pausing for reverence. You've arrived at something sacred. Before you stands a structure, though calling it that feels wrong. It has no bricks, no roof, no floor. It's made of shimmer of breath of memory and fire and stillness. And yet it is solid, more solid than stone. Your soul reacts before your mind does. You know what this is. It is your book. The book of you. It hovers like a pulsing volume, neither open nor closed, just existing alive. Its cover is etched in light. You can't describe a kind of script that looks like water frozen mid-ripple. As you step closer, the air tightens, not with fear, but anticipation. Somewhere in the soft distance, a sound like turning pages whispers into the space, and then the book opens. Not with hands, not by force, but by invitation, and not all the way. Just enough for you to peer into its living pages. At first you think it's just scenes, snapshots of your life. But no, these aren't just memories. These are moments alive, moving, connected. Every act, every choice, every word, written not in ink, but in echo. A laugh here becomes golden thread. A lie whispered in shame becomes a gray ripple trembling at the edges. A prayer said half-heartedly but still sincerely that glows like a candle caught in eternal dusk. And you don't just watch these pages, you feel them. The sorrow of the friend you let down, the warmth of the stranger you helped without realizing, the ripple of change that traveled through people you never met, all because you once said something kind. Here's the twist: you didn't know any of this was being recorded. And yet it all is, every moment not cataloged to condemn but to complete, to reveal, to remind. In some traditions, this is the book of life, the great celestial record, where the names of the saved are written. Others speak of it as a metaphor, a symbol for divine memory. Scholars have debated whether it's literal, mystical, or simply poetic. But here now you know it's real, and it is yours. You ask silently because words feel too small here. Why record all of this? And the answer comes gently, not from the angel, not from a voice, from the book itself. Because you matter. Because no moment is meaningless. Because God does not forget what love creates. You run your fingers across one line a moment when you held someone's hand during their final breath. You didn't think it was holy. You were just present. But here it glows like a sunrise, wrapped in peace. The page breathes softly beneath your touch. And now a curiosity arises. You flip gently to another page, and there it is, a scene you'd rather forget. A time when you were cruel, or selfish, or just tired and careless. You wince, bracing for shame. But something is different here. The scene is not erased, but it's annotated, wrapped in notes of mercy. A second layer, like divine commentary, hums beside it. The damage is acknowledged, the hurt is real, but so is the forgiveness that followed, or the lesson, or the change. In heaven, even regret can be redeemed. You look at your angel unsure. Am I supposed to read all of it? The question floats inside you. The answer is a smile, not a facial one, but the feeling of one wrapping gently around your heart. You're not here to read, you're here to remember. Then the book begins to close, not shut, just gently folded back into itself. A shimmering clasp, like a breath exhaled, settles it into stillness. You sense it will open again one day, at the right time, for the right reason. Behind you, more books appear, not floating in rows, but placed like offerings, each one unique, each one humming with stories, prayers, secrets, and grace. And then another presence enters the scene. This one's softer still. You don't see it, you feel it. It's someone who's read your book before. Someone who knows it cover to cover, line by trembling line. And this someone isn't disappointed. In fact, he seems proud. The angel bows slightly. You turn slowly. Light gathers around you in a way it hasn't before. Not glowing, not shimmering. This time it burns not to consume, but to cleanse. And for the briefest moment, you feel what it's like to be fully known. Not the version of you that you show others, not even the version you pretend to be, but the version God sees, the true you. Wounds and wonders, regrets and radiance. And you are not rejected. You are received. The book pulses once more quietly, and then it waits, because your story isn't over yet. You step back from the book, your soul still humming from the weight of it. That living record, that soul-bound scripture doesn't disappear, it simply fades into the background like a melody remembered still echoing somewhere close. Then from the stillness it happens. A voice. Soft, not whispering, but woven straight into your being. It doesn't come from above, behind, or beside, it rises from within. A voice you've never heard, but always known. The kind of voice that doesn't ask for your attention, it has it as naturally as sunrise holds light. It speaks your true name, not your earth name, not the one on your ID or mailbox, but the one written before time, the one whispered into existence when your soul was formed. It rolls through you like warmth, like home, like a secret only heaven and God ever shared. And when you hear it, you fall silent inside, not out of fear but awe. It's the kind of stillness that settles when someone walks into the room who knows everything about you and loves you still. This is the voice of God. You expected thunder, maybe a robe, a throne. Instead you get this, the quiet certainty of a being so infinite he doesn't need to raise his voice to shake you. Welcome, the voice says, not with lips but through spirit. You have always been seen. It takes you a moment to breathe again, if breath even applies. The angel beside you glows just a little brighter, as if even it is moved by the moment. Some say God's voice is like many waters. Others describe it as a rushing wind. But here it feels like the hush between harp strings, like the stillness in a chapel after the last note of a hymn. It doesn't shout. It knows. You try to speak back, but your words fall short, not because you're unworthy, but because language feels too small. Instead, you let your soul respond, and somehow that's more than enough. And here's what's beautiful, God doesn't demand anything. He doesn't accuse, he reminds. A wave of memories floods back, not scenes like in the book, but moments of knowing. Those times you felt something nudge you to turn around, to speak up, to stay silent, to take a risk. The quiet hunch that saved you. The tear you cried that felt accompanied. Those weren't coincidences, they were callings. Each was the gentle voice of the Almighty speaking from the inside out. And now that voice says something else. You were never alone. The words settle over you like the weight of a quilt woven from every prayer you thought was ignored. The voice continues not in sentences, but truths folded into light. I was there when you knelt in doubt. I was there when you laughed under stars. I was there when you broke and still chose to love. And then the tone shifts just slightly. Not somber, but more tender. As if God has something delicate to give you, something you lost. And then another memory rises. It's someone you loved, someone who left the world before you were ready, a grandparent, a best friend, a child, a partner. Their shape isn't fully visible, just enough to be known. Their soul greets yours with the quiet familiarity of a shared eternity. They don't speak, but they don't need to. You understand instantly they see you. They saw your grief. They watched the birthdays, the missed holidays, the moments you cried into your pillow. They saw every time you said their name in the dark, hoping it might matter. And here now, you realize it did. In the presence of God, reunion isn't loud. It's intimate. And as you stand there wrapped in divine presence and holy memory, you notice something shimmering nearby, like a veil lifting. It's a door, not made of wood, not even of light. It's made of peace. Pure, weightless, undeniable peace. The angel gestures but doesn't push. The choice is yours. Some believe once you reach this moment, there's no going back. Others insist there's always a choice. Some say souls long for heaven so deeply they never look back. But others are called to return to carry what they've seen. And just as the thought forms in your heart, God speaks again. Not with command, with invitation. There is more to be done, the voice says gently, but you have seen enough to never be afraid again. And with those words, the presence withdraws, not vanishing, but allowing. Like a candle left lit as you walk forward. And for a moment, just one, you are changed. Forever. The angel brushes close, not touching, but near enough to feel. You glance once more toward the soul who greeted you. They smile. And then turn not away from you, but deeper into light. Into the place where love never forgets. You're not sure what comes next. But you know this? You've heard the voice that spoke the stars. And it knew your name. The air shifts again, but now it smells like something you haven't sensed in years. It's not just air. It's warmth wrapped in a scent like your mother's sweater, or the pages of a Bible stored in sunlight. It smells like belonging. And ahead a gentle radiance blooms. You step forward, or perhaps your soul leans in. Either way, you are drawn not by force, but by invitation. The angel remains beside you, silent now, a kind of quiet witness. It's no longer guiding, it's watching as if proud of your next step. Then you see it. A structure, but again not made of stone or gold. It's built of something far more personal, your memories of love. Acts of mercy you barely remember giving. Hugs. Forgiveness. The meals you shared when you had little. That one afternoon you stayed on the phone with someone who just needed to talk. The building glows in those colors. It is your home in heaven, but it's not a house in the usual sense. It's a sanctuary crafted from the invisible acts of love you gave when no one was watching. It's beautiful, luminous, gentle. Some believe Jesus was being poetic when he said, "In my Father's house are many rooms." But here you see the deeper truth. Heaven is not uniform, it's intimate. Every soul has its own dwelling carved from what it gave away. You pause at the entrance. The doorframe is etched with symbols, not letters, not numbers. These are echoes of kindness, of tears you wiped, of things no one else noticed. And inside is peace so thick you could wear it like a robe. There's no furniture, no clutter, but you recognize everything. That light on the wall, it's the warmth you gave someone when you forgave them. That subtle breeze across the ceiling, that's every sigh of relief someone breathed because of your presence. That glow near the floor, a prayer you once whispered for someone you never saw again. Your room isn't built of things. It's built of impact. Even the floor beneath you doesn't creak or echo, it remembers. Your steps resonate like chords in a familiar song. This place knows you better than any home you ever had on earth. And you feel something strange? A desire to stay. Not out of escape, but fulfillment. For the first time, your soul doesn't want to run, fix, hustle, or prove. It simply wants to be. Here. In this echo of every good thing you've ever offered the world. And yet, there's another door inside the room. Small, unassuming, just slightly ajar. Your angel nods not toward it, but in approval. You approach, hand trembling, not with fear, but reverence. As your fingers graze at the wood, or as it wood pulses softly, like it knows you, like it waited for this exact moment. Beyond it is a garden. Yes, a garden, but not Eden as you've seen painted. This is more. It stretches wide and wild with no walls and no shadows. The trees sing not with words, but in notes your heart understands. The grass responds to your presence, leaning slightly in your direction like a congregation bowing in blessing. And at the center of it all, a man. You know instantly who it is. Not by halo, not by crown, but by presence. Adam, the first human. You expect a grand speech. He gives a silent nod. It's not a greeting of royalty, it's recognition. You sit beside him not because you must, but because you want to. And in that moment, you understand something that theologians have debated for centuries. Adam never left the garden. Not truly. While humanity walked out, God never stopped tending Eden. It still lives. Not as punishment or myth, but as restoration. You ask without asking, do you remember the fall? He smiles slow and solemn, and then he gestures around, not in shame, in hope. This still grows, the gesture says, and always will. You understand. Heaven doesn't erase Earth's story, it redeems it. And in this place, this impossible garden, you hear something new. Laughter. It's light, childlike, familiar. It echoes in the garden like bells rung at sunrise. You look up, and in the trees you see figures climbing, playing, resting in branches that shimmer with light. They are children. Some born, some unborn, some who lived hours, others who never made it past a heartbeat. They are not lost. They are here, and the joy they carry, unfiltered, infinite. They see you and they smile. And just for a second, you feel a child's hand wrap around your finger. Tiny, trusting, timeless. You don't cry, not because you aren't moved, but because in this place, joy is too big for tears. The garden sings, the angel waits, and the path continues. But not because you must move, because heaven is always opening something more. You step back from the garden with a quiet reverence, still feeling the softness of that tiny hand in your own. It's gone now, but not lost. Nothing is lost here. Everything becomes part of the light folded into something eternal. The path before you changes not physically, but atmospherically. Time begins to behave strangely. Not in a disorienting way, but like a song that changes tempo without warning and still makes perfect sense. You feel younger somehow. Or maybe not younger, timeless. There are no clocks in heaven. The sky shifts in hue, not quite day, not quite night. It ripples like silk, catching golden streaks of what you assume is sunlight, though there's no sun to be seen. You look around and realize you can't tell if a second or a century has passed since the garden. And it doesn't matter, because here time is love-shaped. You begin to notice moments you thought you had forgotten surfacing around you like bubbles in water. One by one, they form and drift past your 6th birthday, and the chocolate frosting that ended up on your nose. The day you finally rode a bicycle without falling. The first time you stood under a night sky and wondered if God was really watching. You think, am I going backward? The angel beside you answers without speaking. No, you are seeing time as it is seen from here. And suddenly it clicks. Time as you knew it on Earth was never a straight line. It's more like a spiral, a divine spiral where every moment still exists, not as a frozen memory, but as a living note in the eternal song. That argument you regret, it's still echoing, but so is the apology. That act of courage you forgot, it still radiates. Your grandmother's lullaby, it's floating somewhere in this realm, still soothing someone somewhere. Some theologians believe eternity is static, a forever moment. Others suggest it's dynamic, always unfolding. Here you realize it's both. Eternity is a tapestry, and time is the thread. You're just seeing the underside now, the place where knots and loose ends once confused you. But from this angle, the chaos makes sense. The pattern reveals itself. You move forward, or rather time moves with you. You begin to understand that nothing truly ends. Not love, not impact, not presence. Even the smallest acts have a place in the symphony. You reach a clearing wide and open the ground beneath you, glowing faintly like starlight scattered on sand. At the center of it is a pool. It doesn't reflect you. It reflects your becoming. You kneel beside it, drawn without knowing why. The surface is still until your hand hovers over it. Then it begins to stir, not with ripples, but with visions. Not past, not future, just truth. And what you see your spirit as it really is. Not your flaws, not your anxieties, but your design. You were made for light, for kindness, for courage, for worship. You were created to echo heaven in places where people had forgotten what heaven sounded like. And even when you felt small, even when you thought you failed, you were becoming. You feel emotion rise, that same familiar tension in the chest that used to trigger tears back on Earth. But here it's different. It doesn't break you. It completes you. The angel leans close and finally speaks in a voice that feels like both breath and fire. Time is not your master here. It is your companion. Let go of what you lost. Everything good returns. You exhale. Or maybe it's more than breath. Maybe it's something your soul had been holding onto for decades. Regret. And in that moment, the pool glows and the regret dissolves. Not ignored, not forgotten, but redeemed. You feel something shift deep inside you as though your soul has taken off a heavy coat it didn't know it was wearing. You rise, and time itself bows to let you pass. You glance at the angel and ask silently, "Is this how God sees time?" The angel nods once, and then adds something else. Some things were delayed, not denied. Those words sink like anchor points in your heart. You recall the dreams you never saw fulfilled, the prayers that didn't get answered the way you'd hoped, the loves that left too soon. You had thought they were over, but they weren't. They are still becoming, even now in eternity, even now with heaven watching. You walk on surrounded by moments. They drift beside you like lanterns. Some you remember, some you don't. But all of them are yours, and none of them are wasted. And from somewhere in the golden light, you hear laughter. Your own. From a day long past when you truly felt free. And that sound, your childlike laughter, is the most sacred music you've ever heard. The angel smiles. And you do too. Because here on this path between time and timelessness, you finally understand. You were never late. You were always right on time. The laughter fades, not abruptly, but like wind slipping through open windows. What's left is a stillness so complete it hushes even your thoughts. The path ahead narrows slightly, not with restriction, but with focus. Something sacred lies just beyond. Then you see it. A garden wall, ancient yet unaged vine wrapped and glistening with dew that doesn't fall. A soft breeze moves through it, not from air, but from prayer. And just beyond the open archway, a garden. Not the garden you've already visited, that one. This is different. This is the place where Adam still walks. You step through the arch and everything shifts. You don't hear birds. You hear silence that sings. You don't see flowers. You see colors being born from light. The grass beneath your feet bends slightly, acknowledging you not in submission, but in celebration. You glance up and there he is, Adam. Not the broken man exiled from paradise, not the legend from children's Bibles, but the human reflection of something divine. His eyes meet yours with no sense of hierarchy, no pride, just depth. He nods not out of obligation, but recognition. You feel the weight of history settle between you. Not shame, not blame, just truth. You realize he remembers, not just the fall, but the before. And that memory shines in him like morning dew on untouched leaves. He speaks not with mouth, but with being. This is not the end of the story. You look around and realize this garden is not Eden lost, it's Eden restored. It has always existed, not in time, but alongside it. Not erased, but kept like a breath held since the beginning of all things. Adam gestures, and you follow, walking beside him on a path that glows like wet stone under moonlight. He doesn't explain everything. He doesn't need to. His presence is explanation. You reach a grove where a tree stands unfamiliar, yet unmistakable. It hums softly, leaves shifting with every soul that has ever longed for God. The tree of life, not metaphor, not myth, real, rooted, waiting. Some theologians argue Eden was symbolic, a myth woven to teach. Others hold fast to its literal creation. But here, with Adam at your side, you understand something deeper. Eden is less a place than a promise. A promise that everything broken can be made whole. You step beneath the tree and the air thickens, not with pressure, but presence. Every leaf glows with its own story, some yours, some not. And then you see one leaf fall. It flutters slowly, softly into your hand. When you touch it, a memory forms clear and vivid. It's not your memory, it's God's. It's the moment he first imagined you. Not your birth, not your childhood, your beginning. When you were just light and intention in his mind. The tenderness of that moment overwhelms you. And then Adam speaks aloud, his voice deep and dust-woven. He never stopped walking with us. We stopped noticing. He steps forward, places his palm on the tree, and suddenly images flood your mind. Not scenes of earth, but glimpses of how heaven has leaned in through the ages. Burning bushes, closed lion mouths, whispered dreams to trembling prophets. The stone rolled away. Tongues of flame descending on a frightened upper room. God has never been distant. He has always been pursuing. And the garden, the one Adam walks in, is proof. You ask quietly, will Eden return to earth? Adam smiles sadly, then peacefully. It already has. Every time you forgive. Every time you choose mercy. Every time someone loves when it would be easier not to. Eden reappears. You look again at the tree. It no longer frightens you. It no longer feels unreachable. It feels like home. And just behind you, the angel speaks once more. Not all who visit are permitted to remember this. You turn, then why me? And here's where it gets strange. The angel doesn't answer with words. Instead, you know the answer as it enters your heart, because you asked. Not with your mouth, but with your life. All the years you searched, all the nights you questioned, all the times you stared up at the ceiling asking if heaven was real, all of it was a kind of prayer, and heaven heard you. You walk once more with Adam through the garden. He does not age, he does not ache, he is not idolized, he is simply healed. And as you approach the gate once again, he offers you something. It's a seed, tiny, ordinary looking, but you feel what it carries. Hope. He says nothing else. You pass through the archway, clutching the seed, and somehow you know, it's not meant to be planted here. It's meant to go back with you. The gate of the garden closes behind you, not with a latch or a thud, but like a memory tucking itself gently away for safekeeping. The seed rests in your palm, impossibly light, yet full of the weight of heaven. You glance at the angel beside you. It hasn't spoken again, but something in its bearing has changed. It walks a step behind now, not guiding, not leading, but honoring. You are beginning to carry something holy. The path bends once more, opening into a soft valley. The light here feels wetter somehow. It clings to the edges of everything, like mist woven with mercy. And at the center of this valley is a stream. It runs quiet and clear, its surface undisturbed even though it's flowing. You approach. The stream sparkles not like water under sunlight, but like remembrance caught mid-breath. As you step closer, something stirs inside you, not fear, not grief, but tension. the kind that comes before release, the kind that only exists where pain has lived too long. This is the river that forgets your pain. You kneel beside it uncertain. The angel's voice, soft as breath on a candle, reaches you at last. This water does not erase memory, it heals the sting. You peer into the surface, and then you see them, your wounds. Not physical scars, but the soul ones. The betrayals you carried. The words you still remember being said behind your back. The heartbreaks you told yourself you were over, but still felt on rainy nights. The shame that clung to you like a second skin. Here the water remembers them too. Not to accuse. To redeem, you dip a hand into the stream. Warmth. But not like bathwater or tea. This warmth feels like a hand on your back when you're about to fall apart. It moves through your arm into your chest and settles in your ribs like a soft fire. And then slowly you begin to see the hurts lose their shape. That time you failed someone, now it's a lesson wrapped in grace. That time someone failed you, now it's a wound woven into wisdom. You don't forget, you forgive. Not because you're forced to, because the pain no longer has anything to cling to. You cup the water in your palms and splash it on your face. As it runs down, you feel something loosen in your chest. A knot, a pressure, something you didn't even realize you'd carried all these years. Gone. The stream continues on untouched, unchanged, and yet it knows you now. And you realize this isn't just a river of healing. It's a river of truth. Here's a secret many never learn. Heaven doesn't pretend pain never existed. It simply refuses to let pain be the final word. You sit at the river's edge for a while. There's no time here, so a while could mean anything. You watch others come and go, some hesitating, some sobbing, some kneeling for what seems like ages. One man weeps as he touches the water, and when he stands, his eyes shine with something beyond joy. It's freedom. There's a tree by the bank, its roots dipped into the water. Its leaves shimmer like they're whispering forgiveness. And nestled among its branches are names not carved, not written, held, names you recognize, names you've whispered in prayer, names you've forgiven, names you still struggle to love. And then you find yours. Not once, but twice. The first version tangled in shame-hard edges, regrets. The second whole, both are held, both are loved. You rise, knees damp but lighter, so much lighter. The angel steps beside you, offering no words. It doesn't need to. The river has already spoken. As you walk away, you carry no guilt, only memory softened by grace. You look back once, just once, and the river sparkles almost playfully, like it knows you'll come again. Because healing is not a one-time event. It's a rhythm. And in heaven, even the rivers sing. You leave the river behind with bare feet and a weightless soul. The grass beneath you feels softer now, more alive, like each blade hums a blessing as you walk. You aren't entirely sure if you're still walking or floating or some state in between. Time has stretched so far, it no longer tethers you. Then the sky above dims, not with night, but with depth, like looking into velvet woven with starlight. And someone is waiting for you. He stands just ahead, still and silent at the edge of a glowing field where the colors shift gently like breath. His robe moves in a wind you can't feel. His hands are at his sides, scarred but at peace. His gaze is fixed, not piercing, not judging, just knowing. Lazarus, the man who died and lived to die again. You're surprised. Of all people, why him? He steps forward. You expect him to speak, but he doesn't, not with words at least. His presence carries a silence so full it might burst. You feel history folding in around you, not just his history, yours, humanity's. 1,000 lifetimes of pain, hope, death, and second chances. You recall the Bible story, how Jesus called him out of the tomb, how the grave clothes clung to him as he walked into light. But what happened after, that part is rarely told. And now you see it. Not in a flash, but in gentle revelation. You see Lazarus alone in his house one morning, staring out the window with a distant expression. A man who had seen behind the veil. A man with a secret he couldn't quite put into words. Not because he was forbidden, but because it was too sacred. Some ancient traditions claim Lazarus never laughed again after returning. Others say he laughed constantly, never fearing death again. Here in this moment, you see both could be true. The sorrow of leaving what he'd seen. The joy of knowing what waits beyond. He steps closer now and reaches for your hand, not to shake it, to share something. And the moment his palm touches yours, it all rushes in. The in-between. That holy instant between your last heartbeat and your first glimpse of eternity. the crossing that happens in silence so subtle that most forget it ever happened. But Lazarus didn't, and now you don't. You see it? The moment a soul detaches, not ripped, released. You watch as light gathers around a departing spirit, not to pull but to receive. Gentle, patient, almost shy. You feel what he felt, that trembling awe as heaven leaned in the reluctance to return. When his name echoed into the void, called by a voice that shattered the silence, Lazarus, come forth. He obeyed, but not without grief. He left behind something so perfect, so complete, that stepping back into the shadow of flesh was a kind of crucifixion in itself. And still, he returned. Not because he wanted to, but because love called. And here's the part you never imagined. When Lazarus returned, the light didn't leave him. It stayed, just beneath the surface, in his silence, in his sorrow, in his smile. He didn't speak much of what he saw, not because he didn't want to, but because no sentence can carry what eternity says in a single glance. He squeezes your hand once more, then lets go, and suddenly you understand something new. Every person who has come back from the brink, from near death, from soul-deep despair, from the edge of goodbye, carries a trace of that light. They may not remember it, they may not recognize it, but it glows in them like an ember. They've touched the other side, and it never fully lets go. You ask Lazarus, not aloud, but in thought, were you angry? He smiles, and for the first time he speaks. No, I was just homesick. His voice is rough like old wood, smoothed by years of wind and worship. He steps back, letting the silence settle again. And now the angel steps forward as if to resume the journey. You turn to go, but pause, looking one last time at Lazarus. He nods, not in farewell, but in understanding. You carry something now, a memory not fully yours, but entrusted. And as you walk on, you realize you've been shown what few ever glimpse. Not just what waits after death, but what lives in the space between. That hush, that pause, that holy moment. When heaven decides to breathe you in, the field behind you folds gently into memory as the path ahead begins to shift again, not in shape, but in feeling. The ground sparkles, faintly dusted with what looks like snow, except it's warm to the touch and vanishes into your skin like a forgotten blessing. You pause instinctively, glancing upward. That's when you see them. Wings. Not all at once, just glimmers at first, like flares on the edge of sight. Then more dozens, hundreds. Wings made not of feathers, but of light and memory, and the prayers of the faithful. They stretch outward like the arms of a star, moving in slow, solemn arcs across the open sky. They aren't flapping. They are hovering, pulsing gently with presence, each one as unique as a fingerprint. Some are vast and radiant, others compact and luminous, and one by one they begin to descend, not toward earth, but toward you. These are the angels who carried your prayers. Not all angels battle, some just listen, and some they hold. You remember a time when you whispered a desperate prayer into your pillow, certain no one could hear. One of these wings shimmered in that moment. You remember a soft prayer mumbled in a hospital waiting room. Another wing glowed, gently folding around the words and lifting them into the light. And now they return. Not to show off, not to remind you, but to fulfill something. One descends slowly, pausing, just inches before your face. Its shape folds like origami woven of glass and gold. Its wing extends, and where the feathers would be, you see moments, each one, a frozen burst of your soul's most hidden hopes. And there, nestled near the tip of the wing, is you. Not your image, your essence. The prayerful, uncertain, clumsy you who still dared to reach upward. You are part of the wing. You always were. You reach out hesitant, not sure if you're even allowed to touch, and the angel doesn't move away. Instead, it leans in. The wing brushes your fingertips, and instantly you feel every single prayer you ever spoke. Not just the words, the emotion, the urgency, the trust. The nights you prayed while half asleep, the ones you prayed even though you weren't sure God was listening. And here's what stuns you. None of them were lost. None. Even the ones you forgot you said. Even the ones said out of anger. Even the ones you thought were too small to matter. All of them were carried. All of them were held. Some believe prayers are like whispers sent into wind. Others say they're cosmic energy shaping reality. But here now, you learn the most sacred truth. Prayers are collected, preserved, cradled in wings made of eternal memory. The angel before you finally lifts off, rising gently like mist rising from water. Others follow, creating a quiet wind that passes over your face like a sigh from heaven itself. Then from somewhere behind you, a shape approaches, slow and steady. Another angel, but different. Not shimmering, not bright, This one is draped in softer tones, matte and warm like old parchment. It carries a scroll. Your scroll, a record of your prayers for others. You don't remember most of them. That time you said God help them as you passed someone arguing on the street. The whispered plea for someone whose name you never even knew. The midnight ache in your chest that turned into a quiet, please just let them be okay. They're all here. The scroll unfurls not with drama, but with peace. And as the paper rolls down, you see the result of every unseen intercession. The man you prayed for in line at the grocery store. He found hope 3 months later and never knew why. The child you asked God to protect after reading the news. She's now a nurse, comforting others the way she once needed to be comforted. Your prayers made ripples, and heaven tracked every single one. The angel holding the scroll bows not to honor your power, but to honor your willingness. Because in heaven, it's not the eloquence of the prayer that matters. It's the heart behind it. You bow not because you feel divine, but because you've never felt so deeply seen. The wind quiets, the wings fade, the scroll slowly curls closed and vanishes like morning mist. And as you look to the horizon, you understand something new. Prayers are not words. They're light, and they don't rise and vanish. They rise and remain. The horizon ahead opens slowly like a curtain drawn back by invisible hands. Light pools at the edges of your vision, not harsh, but soft and warm, as though dawn has been waiting patiently just for you. The path ahead is smooth, and something gentle stirs in the air. You're not alone. Tiny footsteps echo faintly, not behind you, not beside you, above. You glance up and see them, children. Not just playing, not just wandering, but resting. Resting in pockets of golden light that hang like nests between beams of radiance. Some are curled up in slumber. Others swing their legs over invisible edges, giggling quietly. A few hold glowing orbs that seem to pulse with lullabies. They are the unforgotten. The ones whose time on earth was brief, some only hours, some just heartbeats, lost pregnancies, infants taken too soon, children whose laughter was silenced too early. And here they wait. Not in sorrow, in light. You approach slowly, unsure if you're even permitted to witness this sacred place. But one child sees you and waves tiny hand, no fear, just joy. Another drifts closer, arms outstretched like wings. He doesn't speak, but you know what he means. You're welcome here. You sit through the ground is more like a cushion of music than soil, and the children begin to gather. They don't swarm or crowd. They simply surround you like candlelight surrounds a prayer. One child offers you a flower, not of this world. It glows with every color you've ever loved but could never name. When you take it, your chest tightens not with grief but recognition. You've seen this flower before. In a dream. You dismissed it at the time, but now you know it was a glimpse, a heavenly leak into your sleeping mind, a whisper of what waited beyond waking. Another child begins to hum, soft, wordless, but holy, and soon they all join in. It's not a song you recognize, it's not a song anyone has written. It's a song you sang once when you were very small, humming to yourself in your crib, and heaven remembered. That's the first mystery of this place. Even their music includes you. And then the second mystery reveals itself. One of the children, quiet with wide eyes, places her hand on your chest. You feel a warmth spread outward from her touch. Not just heat hope. She's not just greeting you. She's praying for you. Here in heaven, the children pray for the living. You were told to pray for the unborn, the departed, the innocent. But here you see the divine reversal. They have been interceding for you all along. Their prayers are pure, not formed in words, but in yearning. Not limited by doctrine, but lifted by love. They have no regrets. Only intercessions. And the most astonishing part, their prayers have power. You see it now in flashes. A young mother finding strength she didn't know she had during a hospital stay. A grieving father suddenly feeling peace one quiet afternoon with no explanation. A weary soul choosing to live, choosing light because something unseen gave them a reason. The reasons were these children. Some say souls too young to live are returned to God's arms. But here you see more. They are not only received, they are commissioned. Every child here carries a thread of light that is still woven into the stories of the living. You may never know which child prayed for you, which tiny soul whispered your name into heaven's heart, but it happened. It happens still. You look around again, and in the light above, you see a name glowing softly, not spoken, not written, just present. It's the name of a child you once lost, maybe long ago. Maybe before you ever saw their face. They remember you. They know your voice. and they have never stopped praying it forward. You feel the tears rise, but they don't fall, because here tears become stardust. They rise, they shimmer, they join the lullaby. And the angel beside you kneels not to honor the children, but to match their humility. This is not just a nursery, it is a choir of mercy. And you've been listening to their prayers your entire life without knowing it. You rise gently, reluctantly, your soul fuller than when you arrived. A small boy tugs your sleeve and smiles. He doesn't say goodbye. He says, "See you when your story's finished." You smile back, because somehow you believe him. And you carry their light with you as you walk on, no longer as a visitor, but as someone prayed into this moment. The light changes again, not dimmer, not brighter, just deeper, as if the air itself is infused with memory. You feel it around you, within you, like a question you forgot to ask, but always knew the answer to. You're walking slower now, not out of weariness, but reverence, because something ahead is waiting. Something that has always belonged to you, though you've never heard it spoken, not on earth. Then it happens. A whisper, not from the sky, not from the angel, but from the very space around you. It speaks a name, and that name is yours, but not the name you use daily, not the one your friends call. This name is older, truer. It vibrates inside you like a bell struck at your center. It's the name God called you before he knit you together in the womb. The name the stars knew. The name that angels sang when your soul was first lit. You freeze. It doesn't sound like any language you've heard, and yet you understand it perfectly. It doesn't describe you. It reveals you. This is the name that wasn't yours but was. You look to the angel beside you, stunned. Why now, you ask without speaking, and the answer comes softly, because now you can bear it. Earth is too heavy for certain truths. Some names are too sacred for temporary mouths. But here, where eternity breathes your soul, is strong enough to hear its own origin. And as the name echoes once more through you, something unlocks. You remember moments in life when you almost heard it in a dream, on a mountaintop, in a quiet church pew, in the eyes of someone who loved you well. All those moments were preludes, echoes of the name spoken now in full. Some theologians believe we receive new names in heaven, identities refined and perfected. Others suggest we return to our truest form, stripped of ego, restored to essence. Here you realize both are true. You were never incomplete. You were simply waiting for this remembering. And then something else rises, more presence, like a mist drawing itself into form. Souls, hundreds, maybe thousands. They aren't lined up, they aren't chanting, they aren't formal. They are simply here, watching, smiling, holding space. You feel their attention, not heavy, not pressing, just warm. They recognize your true name. Some of them say it without lips, some hum it. Some simply radiate welcome through their eyes. These are not strangers. They are souls who have brushed your life in subtle ways. A teacher who saw your worth when you didn't. A stranger who prayed for you after seeing you cry. An ancestor who blessed you without ever knowing your face. A friend you lost touch with but still think about. They've known your name this whole time. One by one they nod. One places a hand over his heart. Another wipes a tear, not theirs, yours. A third simply beams, like she's waited years for you to finally hear what they always knew. And suddenly you understand something radical. You were never anonymous. Not to heaven, not even once. When you doubted your worth, heaven whispered your name. When you broke apart, heaven held it together. When you stood in front of a mirror wondering if you mattered, heaven had already carved your name into places you couldn't see. And now in this place, beyond breath and calendar, it is finally spoken in full. You don't feel powerful. You feel whole. The name is yours, and you realize something else. You will carry it back. Not all of it, not the full thunder of it, but enough. Enough to help you live differently. Enough to remind you who you've always been, even on days when Earth makes you forget. And now, the crowd of souls parts slightly. A path forms. One figure stands alone at its center. Not bright, not grand, just peaceful, familiar. You recognize the presence before the face. It is the one who loved you like no one else ever could. Someone you loved deeply and lost. They don't speak, they just reach for you. And in that embrace, the name echoes again, not from above, but from within you. And this time, you whisper it back. Not perfectly, but enough. And heaven smiles, because that's all it ever wanted. You don't know how long the embrace lasts. Time doesn't work here the way it does in the world you came from. There's no ticking, no pressure, no fading of light. The moment simply is, and it feels eternal. The soul who held you steps back, not out of distance, but to let the space open again. Around you, the crowd of souls begins to glow faintly, each like a lantern lit from within. And slowly they begin to lift. Not upward, not away inward. As if folding into God's memory, each becoming part of a vast living light. But one presence remains. You turn, sensing someone approaching. They move softly, slowly, as if woven from candlelight and velvet silence. It's another soul. But this one feels different. They don't greet you with speech or gesture. They kneel and begin to pray. For you. You blink. Why would anyone here in heaven pray for you? And then it all becomes clear. This is someone who passed on long ago but has never stopped thinking of you. They've been interceding every day since they crossed the veil. Not with worry, not with panic, but with unwavering love. They saw your heartbreaks. They heard your prayers. They whispered your name when you thought no one remembered it. They are part of what kept you going. The angel beside you speaks its voice like wind stirring harp strings. The dead are not silent. They speak through love. You see it now across the heavens. There is a quiet current, a kind of celestial intercession. Souls who, having stepped beyond the world, turn back toward it with their hearts still tethered not in sorrow, but in hope. They aren't watching to judge. They're praying to protect. And not just for you. You look around and realize there are entire constellations of departed souls lifting earth in prayer. You see prayers shaped like fireflies, like folded wings, like threads of silver running through the very air of heaven. One prayer rises now and you feel it brush your shoulder like a hand reaching across dimensions. It carries no words, just this feeling. You are not alone. You never were. Not in the hospital room, not in the middle of the panic attack, not when you said goodbye at the grave and couldn't stop shaking, not on that long walk home where you wondered if anyone would notice if you disappeared. They noticed. Heaven noticed. Your name was spoken again and again by someone you thought was lost. And their prayer, it changed you. You think back to those moments, those seemingly random surges of peace, strength, or clarity. You thought it was chance, resilience, a lucky break. But now you know, it was this soul, this quiet, constant companion standing in the gap for you, interceding like a guardian with no wings, no halo, just undying devotion. Some say the dead sleep, others say they rise. Here you learn the deeper truth: the dead pray. Not for redemption, they already dwell in it. They pray for connection, for your courage, your clarity, your ability to rise again and again until you arrive here whole. You ask the angel quietly, do my prayers reach them too? And it answers not in words but in warmth always. Every candle you lit, every letter you wrote but never sent, every moment you stared at the stars and whispered their name. They heard you, and they carried those prayers like blossoms, laying them at God's feet, not to remind him of your pain, but to show him your love. Now in this silence you kneel, not to worship, to answer. You close your eyes and let the name of the one who prayed for you rise from your lips slowly, reverently. You don't expect a response, but you get one. A soft echo in the air. I never stopped. You stand. And as you do, a new light unfolds in the distance. It's not bright. It's inviting. There is more ahead. But now you move forward carrying something invisible. The knowledge that even heaven prays. And some of those prayers still have your name on them. The light ahead flickers not in instability, but like candlelight before a celebration. It's golden, welcoming, and strangely familiar. You walk slowly now, as though your soul instinctively understands that what lies beyond is sacred in a different way. Not soft, like the river, not radiant like the children, but intimate. And then you see it. A long table. It stretches farther than sight allows, yet somehow feels close, like it was set just for you. The cloth is woven with threads of light, each glowing faintly with laughter, forgiveness, sacrifice, memory. The plates shimmer with symbols. The goblets pulse with warmth. And there, resting beside every place setting, is a loaf still warm. You've heard of this place before. The banquet, the great feast, the welcome home. Some imagine it as a celebration for saints. Others think it's symbolic, a vision of divine fellowship. But here now you see it for what it is. A table built from every moment of communion, every act of welcome, every broken piece made whole. And this table, it has a place for you. Your name isn't carved into the chair. It's woven into the seat. Not with ink, but with memory. You sit down slowly, reverently. You're not alone. Figures begin to appear, not in a rush, not in a blaze of glory. They simply arrive, smiling, nodding, sitting beside you. Some you know, some you've forgotten. Some you never met, but whose lives brushed yours like wind on the cheek. A woman whose groceries you once carried, a boy you encouraged without realizing, an elderly man you visited on a whim who had prayed for a sign that day. They are all here. They've been waiting for this moment, not for food, but for reunion. The bread is passed, not torn, shared. You reach for the goblet and it's already full, though you never saw it poured. The liquid inside shimmers like starlight caught in dusk. You sip and it tastes like every sacred memory you carry, wedding cake, communion wine, your mother's soup, snowflakes on your tongue. It is everything you've ever called holy distilled into a single sip. You look around and see that others are crying, but not from sadness, from fullness. The kind of emotion that has nowhere to go but out in tears. Then you notice something strange. There's a seat that remains empty. Its chair is woven with the same memory thread as the others. Its plate is warm, its cup is filled, but no one sits there. You glance to the angel who's been silent since the prayerful soul vanished. Its head is bowed. You ask without asking, why is that seat empty? The answer is not spoken. It's felt. That seat is for someone you have not forgiven. A person who wounded you, betrayed you, or perhaps someone you never knew well enough to hate but still judged. It might be someone who didn't ask for mercy, didn't deserve it, or someone you thought you'd let go of but hadn't, not really. And yet, here in the middle of heaven, their place has been set, not in denial, but in hope. You breathe slowly, the weight of this truth pressing into your chest. Heaven prepares for reconciliation before you do. You lean back, you remember that person. The sting rises like it always does. But here in this place where all wounds are gently unthreaded, something changes. You don't feel anger. You feel sadness, not for what they did, for what they missed. You close your eyes, and though no voice urges you, though no angel pushes you, you choose to whisper, I forgive you, not because you forgot, not because they deserve it, but because he set their place at this table too. And suddenly the empty chair shines a little brighter. No one fills it yet, but it no longer feels empty. It feels ready, and so do you. The bread in your hand feels lighter now. You tear a piece and eat, and you realize you've never felt this whole, not because you were fed, but because you finally stopped carrying what heaven already let go. You look around the table once more, your name still humming in your bones, and know this. This banquet is eternal, but it's also now. Every act of grace on earth sets the table a little more, and one day that chair will be filled, because forgiveness never leaves a seat empty forever. You leave the banquet slowly, heart still full, soul still humming. The path ahead widens into something vast, not a road, but a revelation. The light here doesn't glow from any one source. It comes from within everything. As if every blade of grass, every breeze, every breath is lit from the inside out. And beneath your feet you begin to see it. Streets, but not made of gold, not exactly. They shine, yes, but not with opulence. They shine with meaning. Because every inch of these streets you built. Not alone, not consciously, but through every act of love you gave away without realizing. You kneel down. The surface beneath you pulses gently like it remembers. You place your hand on a single stone and it responds. A moment rises into your mind, a time you smiled at someone in despair, a time you gave without expecting thanks, a time you forgave when you could have turned bitter, a time you stayed when someone expected you to walk away. All those moments, they're here, woven into the very ground. Some believe the streets of gold are symbols of divine wealth. Others think they're literal, crafted to reflect heaven's majesty. But here, now you see the deeper truth. Heaven's streets are built from human kindness. Every act of love is construction. You rise and begin to walk. The road sings under your steps. Not loudly, just enough to let you know it sees you. That it remembers how much it took for you to keep loving when you were exhausted, when it wasn't returned when you were hurt. Each step carries echoes of your journey. The stone beneath your left foot glows with a memory of generosity. The one beneath your right remembers a sleepless night you spent praying for someone you couldn't help. And suddenly you realize nothing good was ever wasted. You thought those quiet acts disappeared into time, that your love vanished unacknowledged, that your small offerings were too little to matter, but they didn't disappear. They became a city, and not just yours. As you walk, you see other roads, other streets winding beside yours. Some converge, some diverge, each built by other souls. People you knew, people you didn't, people you'll meet one day. You pass a section where the path is particularly radiant. It gleams like molten sapphire. The light dances more playfully here. and you feel a presence nearby, someone whose life was marked by incredible pain, who chose kindness again and again anyway. You don't know her name, but you feel her courage, and her road touches yours, because love never builds alone. You look ahead now and something larger comes into view. A city glimmering grand but not intimidating. It rises like a breath held in anticipation. This is the city you built unknowingly. Its walls are your prayers. Its windows are your mercy. Its towers are your loyalty when it would have been easier to leave. Its lights are your words that made others feel seen. And it stands not for your glory but as heaven's way of saying, I saw you. You enter through a gate that feels more like a whisper than a threshold. Inside, the air is full of movement, souls, and light and purpose. You pass gardens grown from the laughter you helped others rediscover. You see fountains bubbling with stories that you never even knew you were part of. One soul sits reading a book, whose pages are filled with moments where you unknowingly changed the direction of someone's life. You want to say, but I didn't do anything. And heaven replies, yes, you did. There's a plaza in the center of the city, a quiet place, still and sacred. At its heart, a pool, not of water, but of remembrance. You glance in and it shows you your life, but not from your eyes, from others. You see the ripple effects of your love, a joke you made in passing that saved someone from despair, a moment when you listened instead of talking and someone chose not to give up, a time when your presence was the only light someone had left. You turn to the angel. Why am I being shown this? The angel answers gently, because you thought you didn't matter. You close your eyes and breathe. And in that breath is a release of every moment you doubted your worth. You walk once more through the streets, hand brushing the walls, feet tracing the path only you could have made. And heaven walks with you, because this city was never a reward. It was a reflection. You didn't just arrive in heaven, you helped build it. The city gently recedes behind you, not vanishing, but folding into the soft distance like a lullaby that continues even after you've stopped listening. You walk forward, heart still swollen with the warmth of what you've built, what you've remembered, and what you never even realized you gave. But something new stirs in the air. A rhythm, a pulse. You feel it before you hear it, a low, slow reverberation like thunder too distant to be alarming. It's not sound, it's presence. And then you see them, figures, towering. Not like giants, but like gravity. Their forms bend light around them, cloaked in silence more than fabric. They do not speak, they do not move. Yet everything around them shifts, as if even heaven waits to breathe until they pass. These are the forgotten angels of Revelation, not the ones from Sunday school murals or gilded pages in children's Bibles. These are the ones hidden in Scripture's shadows. The watchers, the trumpeters, the scroll bearers, the ones John saw in vision described in trembling metaphors, because no human tongue could handle the raw truth. One stands in front of you now. It is covered in eyes, not in horror, but in insight. Each one calm, ancient, unblinking, not spying, seeing, truly seeing. Another bears wings woven from flame and crystal. They do not burn, they illuminate. When you look into them, you see galaxies unfolding. Not as a spectacle, but as a whisper of God's vastness. And then a third, silent still, holding a scale. But it's not for judgment, it's for balance. The angel weighs moments, grief against joy, doubt against hope, silence against worship, and somehow it all aligns. You realize these angels aren't here to instruct or escort. They are here to reveal, to show you the patterns heaven kept hidden in plain sight, the ones you never had eyes to see until now. One angel, faceless yet familiar, lifts a scroll. You don't read it, you receive it. It enters you like breath. You know what it contains, not predictions or punishments, but truths. Some scholars argue about these angels, were they literal, symbolic archetypes? But as the scroll settles in your soul, none of that matters. Here in this moment, you understand. These beings are not meant to be understood. They are meant to be witnessed. You realize that Revelation wasn't about terror or doom. It was about unveiling, about peeking beyond the veil into a realm where nothing is lost, and every tear is either counted or transformed. And these angels, they are not heaven's warriors. They are its memory keepers. They've been recording not just events, but meanings. A baby's cry that stirred God's heart, a martyr's last whisper of praise, a moment when someone chose love over revenge and altered eternity's shape. They show you a single feather, just one suspended in light. It holds a scene, a woman kneeling by her bed, praying for someone who would never thank her, never know. But that prayer shifted the course of an entire family's story. The angel returns the feather to its wing, and the air stills. These are not the angels who intervene. They are the angels who remember. And in remembering they honor. One steps toward you now radiant and unreadable. You expect fear, but what you feel is stillness, like your soul is sitting in a quiet cathedral lit by 1,000 unseen candles. And then it does something you never imagined. It bows, not in worship, not in submission. In acknowledgement, you have been seen. And in that bow, a truth is pressed into your spirit. You are always part of a bigger story. The choices you made in secret, the burdens you carried in silence, the moments you held others, when no one held you, none of it went unnoticed. The angel rises, and the air swells. Light flickers in patterns too holy to name. For a brief moment, you glimpse what angels see, how a single human life lived with love can ripple through dimensions. How courage on earth sends shockwaves through eternity. How you fragile, flawed, uncertain, have lit fires in the realm of the divine. The angels begin to fade, not like smoke, like symphonies ending their final note. And the path clears once more. You don't look back, because now you carry part of their vision, and the silence they leave behind is full of witness. The silence that follows the angels isn't empty. It lingers like incense in a sanctuary, thick, fragrant, reverent. You feel it settle into your bones. There's no rush here, no urgency. Heaven moves at the speed of meaning. And then you sense it. Someone is nearby. Not above, not ahead. Beside you. You turn not quickly but instinctively, and there he is. Jesus. No trumpet, no halo, no crowd of wings announcing his arrival. Just him. And suddenly everything feels smaller and greater all at once. He stands barefoot on the path, his robe simple dusted at the hem, as though he's walked alongside you this entire time. His hands are visible, still marked, still scarred, but glowing gently, like the wounds themselves have learned how to shine. And his face, you try to take it in, but it's not fixed. It doesn't settle into a single expression. It seems to shift with your understanding. One moment he looks like joy itself, the next like every grief you've ever endured held in peace. Then serenity, power, humor, kindness too vast to bear, but the one expression that stays is his smile. A smile so soft, so complete, so knowing that it reaches past your eyes, past your mind, and lands somewhere deep in the marrow of your soul. He doesn't speak, he just smiles. And in that silence, entire gospels are written into your being. He walks closer, slowly, deliberately. You think maybe he'll say something profound, some thunderous truth, some hidden scripture, but he doesn't. He just sits down beside you, like an old friend, like a teacher after class, like someone who has all of eternity and is in no hurry at all. You glance sideways, heart thudding not from fear, but from a reverence too large for words. He looks straight ahead and smiles again, still silent, still God, still close. Somewhere in the stillness, a memory returns something you once read or maybe heard. He opened not his mouth. You always thought that was about his suffering, but maybe it's about this too. The truth that silence can be more intimate than speech. You ask nothing, he answers everything. You think about the years you prayed and wondered if he heard. The nights you begged for signs. The times you felt unworthy to even speak his name. And here he is, sitting on the same ground. No throne, no distance, only presence. You turn your face slightly toward him and finally say quietly, "Why didn't you say anything?" And he finally does speak. Just one sentence. But it breaks you open in the gentlest way, because sometimes my silence was the answer. You breathe, and suddenly so many things fall into place. The prayers that were met with stillness, the waiting, the aching, the silence that once felt like abandonment, now feels like protection, like timing, like love that trusted you to keep going. He reaches out and touches your hand, not to heal it, not to mark it, just to hold it. And in that contact, something else is transferred. A moment, one of his memories. You feel it rush through you. The heat of the desert, the ache of solitude, the crushing press of Gethsemane's night, the weight of the cross, the emptiness of the tomb, and then light. Not light from outside, light from within him. He lets go. You inhale, and realize he wanted you to see that even God understands despair. Even God has known the silence between suffering and resurrection. And still, he smiled. Because he knew the story wasn't over. Jesus stands. Not abruptly, not with urgency, just with peace. He doesn't vanish. He just walks ahead, glancing over his shoulder once to make sure you're still coming. You are, because now you understand something deeper. Sometimes the most divine answer is a God who simply sits with you, not to fix you, not to lecture you, but to be with you and smile. You follow him, not because he commands it, because how could you not? Each step feels lighter now, as though your soul is finally learning to walk without the weight it carried for so long. Jesus doesn't look back again, but somehow you know he's fully aware of you, not in surveillance, in companionship. He walks ahead not to lead like a ruler, but to make space for you to follow at your own rhythm. And then the path opens into a vast radiant expanse. It's not a hall, not a throne room, not a cathedral. It's something gentler, something more unexpected. It's a home, a quiet place. Radiant, yes, but intimate. Everything here breathes with welcome. The walls glow with light that doesn't cast shadows. There are no doors, only invitations. You feel it before you see it. Judgment, but not as fear, not as punishment, as truth. Pure, unveiled, holy truth. This is the judgment that feels like home. You pause, not because you're afraid, but because something inside you knows this is where everything is seen, and more importantly, understood. The angel steps forward once more, gentler now, as if its wings have softened since your journey began. It gestures not toward a throne, but toward a place to sit. You do. The seat isn't cold or hard. It molds to you not like furniture, but like mercy. And then light gathers, not from above, from within. Your life rises before you, not as a scroll or a flashing reel, but as presence. Every word, every silence, every small act of courage, every compromise, every hurt, every healing. And none of it condemns you. It simply is. You expect to feel shame. Instead, you feel safety. Because this isn't a courtroom. It's a reunion. And the one sitting across from you, though unseen, feels closer than your own breath. You feel his attention like sunlight on closed eyelids. Warm, total, loving. You whisper, "Am I enough?" The silence answers first. Then a voice. Not loud, not thunderous. Just true. You always were. Tears rise, but they're not the hot sting of guilt. They're the soft overflow of being known. Here you are not measured. You are met. Not graded on your perfection, but greeted with your humanity. The judgment isn't a verdict. It's a mirror. And in it you see both your brokenness and your beauty, and neither disqualifies the other. You remember the parable of the prodigal son, the fear, the return, the running father. Now you realize the father never needed an explanation. He just wanted his child home. And this is home. You feel a presence beside you, perhaps Jesus, perhaps the Spirit, perhaps both. They say nothing, but you understand. Heaven doesn't judge to punish. It judges to restore. To tell you the whole story of your life, not just the pain or the pride, but the places where grace grew quietly. One memory surfaces, a moment you regret, one that still clings even now. And suddenly it expands. You see how even that moment birthed compassion in someone else. How it rippled, changed, healed. It didn't disappear. It was redeemed. You are not being told who you are. You are being reminded. And the reminder is this. You are and always have been loved with knowledge. Nothing hidden, nothing denied. Everything seen. And still, loved. You rise slowly, not lighter, not heavier. More real. More whole. The angel bows not to you, but to the mercy that now shines through you. And before you go, you glance back, expecting to see your life still hovering in that light. But it's gone. Not erased. Completed. And in its place, a door, simple, quiet, open. Because the judgment isn't the end of your journey. It's the moment heaven says, "Come in, fully, freely, forever." You step through the door, not cautiously, not with hesitation, but like someone who's just remembered where they belong. The space beyond doesn't explode in light or grandeur. It settles around you like a breath finally exhaled. Everything here feels soft, like creation has let its shoulders down. The tension that once laced the world, the need to prove, to fix, to earn, is gone, and what's left is peace. But just ahead, something strange interrupts the stillness. You see a staircase. It rises gently, step after glowing step, without railings or walls. It doesn't pierce clouds. It doesn't vanish into heaven's height. It just goes up steadily, quietly, waiting. And at the base of the stairs, a few souls stand. You recognize some of them instantly. Others, you feel like you should. Their eyes aren't afraid, but they are unsure. their paused feet hovering just short of that first step. They glance upward, then downward, then around, as if waiting for some unspoken permission. You approach, and you finally understand. These are the ones who have arrived, but haven't yet accepted it. The staircase some refuse to climb. Not because they're unworthy, because they believe they are. Heaven for them feels too good, too generous, too undeserved. You hear one whisper, but I never forgave myself. Another, I failed too many times. A third, he can't really mean me. And your heart breaks. Because these souls are surrounded by glory bathed in mercy, and yet still carry the weight of earth's shame like chains that don't exist anymore. The angel beside you watches. You ask gently, can't someone just tell them? The angel replies, they must choose to believe it. One of the souls, a man with weathered eyes, turns to you. What did you do to deserve this? You pause, and then smile not with pride, but with peace. I didn't do anything, you say softly. I just let him love me. The man looks away. Not angrily, just broken. And you realize how hard it can be for those who spent their lives earning, striving, repenting, to suddenly be told, you're already home. So you sit with him, not to preach, to be. Because sometimes that's what heaven looks like. Not shining, not soaring, but sitting with someone until they remember they're already forgiven. And slowly others gather, not to fix, just to witness. And bit by bit, something changes. The man stands, trembles, takes a breath not with lungs but with spirit. He steps forward, not far, just one step onto the staircase, and the staircase responds. It glows not with fanfare but with welcome. Another soul climbs, then another. Some run, some crawl, some take years in a single breath, but all are climbing. You walk along the base not to ascend but to watch, to encourage, to celebrate. Because here in this place there's no judgment for hesitation, only invitation, only patience. Some souls wait longer. They still hear the voices of old sermons, old wounds, but heaven doesn't rush them. The staircase never retracts, it simply waits. Because love doesn't expire. One woman stands at the foot of the stairs clutching a broken necklace. You feel her sorrow before she speaks. I hurt someone, she says. They never forgave me. The angel steps forward, then placing a hand over her heart. They don't have to. He already did. She cries, not loudly, not dramatically, just a single tear. And then step by step she rises. You sit at the foot of the staircase for a while longer, watching souls remember, watching light mend what shame once fractured. And just before you go, you turn and ask the angel, do some never climb? The angel replies gently, some take longer, but every soul here is already being lifted. And then you understand, in heaven you don't rise by striving, you rise by receiving. You stand, and as you leave, you glance one last time at the staircase, watching a man reach the top and vanish into the light, not disappearing. Arriving, and heaven sings softly under your breath, because love never stops lifting those who dare to believe. It really was for them. You step away from the staircase, the sound of gentle feet, ascending, still lingering like music, drifting from another room. The air is lighter now, scented with something soft, something like cedar, and warm bread and rain on old stone. You breathe it in, and it fills every part of you that ever felt hollow. The angel walks beside you once more. It says nothing. It doesn't need to. Its presence is like a hand resting gently on your shoulder, not pushing, not pulling. Just steady. Then just ahead the light bends. Not in brightness, but in memory. And into that glow steps a man you didn't expect to see. He walks slowly, humbly, a faint shimmer clinging to his robes like starlight still not washed off. It's the robber from the cross. You recognize him, though you've never seen his face before. Not in paintings, not in dreams. But your soul knows him. Because his story lives in the same part of your heart that holds regret and hope in the same trembling breath. He doesn't look holy. He looks human. But there's something in his eyes, something settled. Like a man who has been finally understood. He smiles. Didn't expect me, did you? You blink. Honestly, no. He laughs softly. Me neither. You walk beside him, and it's like walking next to a confession that became a promise. You think of the story, how he turned to Jesus in those final breaths, how he asked only to be remembered, and how Jesus, beaten and bloodied, turned his head and said, "Today you will be with me in paradise." And now you realize Jesus meant exactly that. Not tomorrow, not after penance, not once theology caught up. Today. The man gestures and you see it, the place he arrived in. Not gold, not fire, a garden. One filled with souls who made it not by their record, but by his response. You ask hesitantly, was it hard to accept it? He nods. At first, yes. I spent so long stealing, running. I figured mercy had an expiration date. He kneels, picking up a flower that glows faintly with remembrance. But it didn't. It never did. He offers it to you. You know what shocked me most, he says. You shake your head. It wasn't that he forgave me. It was that he'd already decided to. You sit together on a low stone bench, one that feels more like cloud than marble. He tells you stories not of what he did, but what he saw after the words, "Today, you'll be with me." He saw the arms of God opening. He saw the faces of the ones he thought he'd never deserved to look in the eye. He saw home and it didn't flinch. Some say last-minute faith is reckless, that it cheats the system. But here, sitting next to the soul who arrived on a whisper and a plea, you see the opposite. It doesn't cheat the system, it is the system. Because grace doesn't run on human fairness. It runs on divine promise. The man stands. He's not weighed down by his past. It walks behind him like a shadow that forgot how to cling. He turns to you. Whatever brings you to him, whether it's youth or the final breath, it's always enough. You feel that settle in your chest, not as permission to live carelessly, but as permission to stop doubting. You ask him one more question. What was it like, the moment after? He smiles again, wider this time, like falling into love without hitting the ground, and then he's gone. Not vanished, called. As if someone somewhere just spoke of him with grace, and he rose to meet it. You look around and the garden is still. The angel speaks. He was the first to enter after the cross. You nod slowly, realizing what that means. He was the first guest in the paradise bought by blood. And yet, he wasn't treated like a guest. He was treated like a son, and so will you be. You walk on the path once again unfolding. And behind you where he sat, the flower still glows. The flower's glow fades slowly behind you, not vanishing, but folding gently into the fabric of heaven, like a candle placed back on a windowsill after warming a traveler's hands. The path beneath your feet becomes softer now, more like mist than stone. You're not quite walking anymore. You're gliding, or perhaps being carried though no hands touch you. Above, something shifts. The sky stretches wider, not just horizontally, but upward, like a cathedral dome being pulled higher with every heartbeat. Stars appear, but they don't blink or burn. They pulse. Each one glows with rhythm like it's breathing with you. The angel speaks again, its voice low, reverent. We've entered the skies over New Jerusalem. And suddenly you realize the stars aren't just stars. They're stories. Each one a soul, each one a prayer, each one a moment of God's glory, manifested and remembered forever in the constellations of eternity. You float upward, not in ascent, but in welcome. Because the sky itself opens not as atmosphere, but as invitation. This is the place of the secret stars over New Jerusalem, and they are not above you. They are with you. You pass through one, just one, and instantly you feel it, a grandmother's lifelong prayer offered every night by a window, in a small house no one remembers but heaven. The star glows warmer as you pass. It recognizes you. She prayed for you, and you didn't even know. Another star pulses nearby. It holds the memory of a revival in a forgotten town, just a dozen people in a dusty church, but their praise reached so far, it stitched a new thread into eternity. You can hear them now, not in language, in worship. The sky sings, not like choirs, but like light turned into music. And the melody is not one song, it's many. All the hymns ever sung, all the lullabies ever whispered, all the names ever spoken in prayer. And then just ahead you see it, New Jerusalem. It doesn't rise like a city on earth. It floats as if suspended on breath. Its walls are translucent gold, but not flashy. They shimmer with restraint, like joy wrapped in quiet strength. Every gate is open. Every foundation stone radiates with the names of the apostles, not carved, but sung into place by the Word himself. Some say this city is symbolic. Others believe it is literal, descending in the end times. But here you see the eternal truth. New Jerusalem is not just a place. It's a people, it's a promise, it's home fulfilled. And those stars, they're not decorations. They're witnesses. Each one a record of a soul that lit the world even once and was never forgotten for it. You're guided now toward a tower, a gentle spire, not tall out of pride, but out of purpose. It points upward, not to claim space, but to offer it. Inside you find something waiting, a map, but not a map of roads or borders, a map of your worship. The places where you sang, the times you danced in private, the moments you turned your face upward in pain, in joy, in confusion, and said his name anyway. Every act of worship left a mark, and now those marks are stars. You step back and gaze at the map. It stretches beyond sight. You never knew it was so vast. You never knew your love for him left so many trails of light. The angel stands beside you in stillness. You ask odd all of this, from my worship. It nods once, even the silent kind. Because heaven records every moment you chose light. Even if your hands trembled, even if your voice cracked, even if no one saw you but him. Especially then, you step outside the tower now standing high above the city and you see it all. The city glows from within. The sky responds. The stars lean in like angels in the balcony of creation, still watching, still singing. And at the center of it all is a throne, distant, yet somehow inside your chest. And from it, light pours not outward but inward, into the city, into the stars, into you. Because the New Jerusalem isn't just a destination. It's the place where everything returns to God. Even your light, even your love, even you. And in this moment, you finally understand what eternity really is. It's not endless time. It's endless meaning. And every star above you now, it's proof that your life meant something forever. The stars above you dim, not from fading, but from yielding. Like musicians stepping back after their part in a symphony, they soften, so something else can rise. Ahead, just beyond the last gentle spires of New Jerusalem, a narrow path appears. It glows faintly, as though lit from beneath by heartbeat. The angel nods for you to follow. You do. The path leads into quiet. Not silence quiet. The kind of hush that arrives in sacred moments when words would only bruise the stillness. The light grows thinner here, not in strength, but in form. It filters through like mist touched by fire. Then just ahead you see it. A door. Small, simple, unlocked. You pause, heart trembling, not in fear, in recognition. You know this door. You've felt it before, in moments on earth when you thought all was lost and somehow hope stirred again. In dreams where peace hovered just beyond reach. In the final seconds of a worship song that ended with more than silence. This is the door you thought you'd missed. You step closer. The wood isn't carved. It's worn. Not from neglect, from love. As if 1,000 holy hands have passed across its surface. Your own fingers brush it gently, and you feel what you feared was gone forever. A second chance. You glance at the angel. Why is this door here? The answer is soft like breath into candlelight, because grace doesn't run out. Tears rise. You thought the moment had passed. The relationship too broken, the time too short, the chance too far gone. But this door waited. It didn't slam, it didn't vanish, it simply stayed quiet, patient, eternal. Some say heaven is final. Others say mercy ends with breath. But this door tucked here in the holiest folds of glory says something far greater. I'm still here. You reach for the handle. It glows faintly under your grip, not hot, not cold, alive. And as the door creaks open, you're not met with fire or fury or even music. You're met with memory, a moment you buried long ago, one that hurt too much to hold. It rises now, gentle, not sharp. You see the face of someone you lost, or hurt, or couldn't save. You see the moment you made the wrong choice, the time you turned away, the word you never said, the apology that stayed locked in your throat. And you finally say it, right here in heaven, not to earn your place, to finish the sentence. The presence beyond the door receives it not with thunderous forgiveness, but with a small, steady flame of understanding. It nods and steps back into the light. You don't need to chase. You just needed to know the door was never truly closed. You breathe again, deeply, freely. You realize this wasn't just a door. It was a moment, one that waited until your soul was ready to return to it. You look back once more before gently letting it swing closed. But this time, it doesn't feel like loss. It feels like completion. As you step away, the angel speaks again. There are always doors like this in heaven. Some appear quickly, others take longer, but all are opened by grace. You continue down the path lighter now. Something in your chest feels newly healed. A wound that never found Earth's remedy has finally exhaled. And in the distance, a new sound begins. Not music, not voices, a breeze. The breath of God moving again. And it carries a whisper, just one. Nothing is ever too late for me. The whisper lingers as the breeze moves on, carrying peace like pollen through a garden only God could plant. The path narrows again, not to limit you, but to draw your focus. Everything in heaven now seems to listen, as if it knows something important is about to be revealed. You step carefully, not because the ground is fragile, but because the moment feels holy. And then you see it, a pedestal. Simple, humble, glowing faintly like the last embers of a hearth before morning. Resting upon it is a scroll not rolled tightly, not sealed, but open as though it has been waiting for your return. You approach. The angel steps aside, not out of duty but deference. This is not a book of law, not a contract. It's a story. Your story. But not the same one you saw earlier. This is the scroll still being written. The part of your life that didn't end when you left Earth. The part that continues in prayers answered long after your voice faded. In lives changed because of seeds you never knew you planted. In words you said that someone carried like bread through their darkest night. The scroll glows gently as your presence nears. Its letters shimmer, not ink, but light caught in memory. And here's what's staggering. You see lines being added? Even now. Someone back on Earth just made a choice because of something you once did. A kindness, a truth, a sacrifice. It rippled outward and heaven noticed. The scroll is alive. It breathes like a flame protected from wind. And within its text are names not just yours, but names of the ones you've touched. Not all intentionally. Some barely knew you, some never met you, some just read your words or saw your example or were loved by someone you loved. And yet, they're here, woven into your legacy like golden threads in a vast, invisible tapestry. You ask the angel, is this what I leave behind? The angel smiles. No, this is what you carry forward. Because in heaven, your life isn't just remembered. It is active, eternal. There is no end to the good you can cause when it's born of love. You see it now, a child in a country you've never been to smiles because of a story passed down from someone you encouraged. A teacher speaks more gently because of a phrase you once whispered into her grief. A letter you wrote decades ago is now the lifeline for someone standing at the edge. The scroll does not shrink when you are gone. It expands. And the pen writing it, not held by God alone, but by the hands of those who still walk earth because of what you lived. Some think legacy is carved in stone or etched on plaques. But here you learn the truth. Legacy is light. It is carried forward by love, by choice, by compassion that echoes. The angel gestures and a second scroll appears thinner but just beginning. It's the story of someone you influenced. You don't know their name, but heaven does. And because of you, they have started their own ripple. You step back from the pedestal, tears pressing against your eyes, not of regret, but of overwhelm. You thought death ended your chapter, but God never stopped writing. You walk on and the scroll rolls, slowly pausing, never closing, still waiting. Because someone somewhere is just now feeling the warmth of your echo and choosing light. And heaven is still watching. The scroll fades from view like a candle returning to fire, never gone, just rejoined with something greater. And as it disappears, the path around you begins to shift. It narrows once more, but not with limitation, this time with intention. You're being drawn somewhere, not summoned, not pushed, invited. The angel walks a step behind now. You're meant to see this part alone. You step into a clearing, and then you see him again. Jesus. Not as before in silence. Now he stands fully radiant, not blinding, welcoming. Light streams from him like sunlight through water, touching everything without effort. But your eyes are drawn not to his robe, not to his face, but to his hands. The scars are still there, still visible, still glowing. He lifts one hand slowly, letting you see what the world once called wounds, what Thomas once doubted, what soldiers once pierced. But here, they shine, and you finally understand the wounds of Christ still glow. You approach slowly. His eyes meet yours, not in warning, not in sorrow, but in joy. As if he's been waiting for you to ask the question he already knows is in your heart. You look at his hands. Why are they still there? He answers not in speech, but in presence. The glow intensifies not like fire, but like remembrance turned into light. Each wound is not just a mark. It's a portal, a living window into the moment where mercy and wrath collided and only love survived. You reach out, and for a moment, just a moment, you place your hand near his. Not touching, just close enough for your skin to feel the warmth of what it cost him. And he smiles, because he knows you understand now. The wounds were not erased in resurrection. They were exalted. Some believe heaven will wipe away every tear, every scar, every memory of pain. But now, in this radiant silence, you learn the deeper truth. God does not erase wounds. He redeems them. Jesus turns slowly, extending his hand, not just toward you, but toward all of heaven. And you see it, every person here has a scar, but not the kind that ache. The kind that shine, because in heaven, scars aren't shameful. They're sacred. Proof that you've passed through suffering and emerged transformed. You remember your own wounds, those you carried in silence, the betrayals, the traumas, the things you thought disqualified you from being loved. Here in his presence, you realize they didn't disqualify you. They prepared you. They softened you. They made you able to recognize his voice in the dark. And now they too begin to glow. Not outwardly, inwardly, like warmth radiating from a healed place. Jesus gestures for you to walk with him. No throne, no crown, just two souls on a path paved with grace. As you walk, he tells you things. Some are memories, some are mysteries, some are jokes, soft inside jokes that make you laugh from the belly of your spirit. The kind of laughter you haven't tasted since childhood. He stops beside a still pool of light and shows you one last vision. It's you, on earth, in your worst moment. Broken, ashamed, crying, isolated. And then from the side of that image, a hand reaches in. His. You didn't see it then, but he never left. He never pulled away. He sat with you in the mud and the grief and the silence. And when the time came, he carried you forward. He turns back to you now, and for one eternal second he lets you feel it. The entirety of his love. It doesn't crash. It settles, like sunlight across a tired face, like water on cracked lips, like the first breath after weeping, and you whisper thank you. He simply nods, and the wounds glow once more, because the cost was never the point. You were. The path opens again, wide and welcoming, as though heaven itself wants you to take your time. Jesus doesn't vanish, he simply stays behind, watching you, with the kind of love that doesn't demand anything, only delights in your becoming. The angel rejoins you, quietly walking beside you with the same gentle rhythm. But something is different now. You are carrying something. It's not physical, it's not visible, but it glows inside you like a sunrise not meant to be seen, only felt. You reach a grove. At the center stands a tree, not grand like the tree of life, not mysterious like the tree Adam showed you. This one is familiar. Its bark is knotted, its branches low and welcoming. The leaves shimmer not gold or silver, but green, so alive they hum. This is the tree whose leaves sing healing. You approach slowly. A soft breeze stirs the air, and the tree responds, not like foliage, but like a harp struck by divine wind. The sound is not music exactly, it's memory woven into peace. The leaves rustle with intention, and suddenly they begin to sing. Each leaf carries a song, not random, not rehearsed, but personal. One leaf sings of the night you forgave yourself. Another hums the lullaby your mother used to whisper. One trembles with the sound of a scripture you clung to in grief. Another holds the breath of relief when the burden finally lifted. And you realize this tree doesn't just sing to you, it sings because of you. Every time you chose to heal instead of harden, a leaf formed. Every time you wept but didn't quit, a branch extended. Every time you said, still I will praise, even when it cracked your voice, another root went deeper. You sit beneath it, and the tree seems to bend almost imperceptibly, as if it's embracing you. The angel watches with quiet joy. You ask barely above a whisper, is this mine? The angel smiles. It was grown from your healing, but its shade is for everyone. Because in heaven your healing isn't just yours. It becomes shelter. You lean back, resting against the trunk. The bark is warm, like it remembers your touch. You close your eyes, and the tree continues to sing. Not loudly, not demanding attention, just steady. Like the heartbeat of someone who stayed with you through your worst moments. One leaf brushes your shoulder, another falls gently into your lap. You hold it. It glows faintly. You place it over your chest, and it melts not into ash but into light. And suddenly you feel it. Your soul is softer, not weaker, wiser. Stronger not in armor but in openness. Some say healing means forgetting the pain. But here you learn the deeper truth. Healing in heaven is remembering without the ache. The leaves carry stories that used to burn. Now they bless. You rise slowly, still holding the light inside you, and look back at the tree. You know you'll return. Not to sit, but to bring someone else here when they're ready. The tree will wait. It always does. Because healing is never rushed in heaven, only received. You step back onto the path, your heart humming with the melody of those leaves, and the angel says, many think heaven is only about joy, but healing is a kind of joy too quieter but deeper. You nod and continue walking, not to leave this behind, but to carry it forward. The melody of the tree lingers behind you like a hymn that clings to the corners of your mind. Every few steps you think you've stopped hearing it, until it rises again, subtly woven into the silence like it never really left. Ahead, the path flattens into an open field. Nothing towers here. No temples, no trees, no gates. Just wide, luminous stillness. And floating in the air, rising like breath, comes a sound. At first you don't recognize it. Then you do. Music. But not from instruments, not from voices. This is the sound of heaven itself. This is heaven's soundtrack, and it's not what you expect. There are no harps, no organs, no choirs lined in robes. Instead, what you hear is something stranger, closer, deeper. You hear a child's laugh from a mountaintop. You hear a weary nurse humming in the middle of the night. You hear an old man whispering a psalm alone in a pew. You hear ocean waves colliding with sunrise. You hear a mother's thank you spoken over an empty pantry. And then you hear your own voice. Not speaking, not singing, just being. A moment when you simply stood still and believed even when nothing made sense. That moment has a sound. And here in this field you begin to realize, every act of love makes music. Every time you chose kindness when cruelty was easier, every time you didn't give up, every time you paused to see someone who felt invisible, all of it became part of the song. You sit down in the field. The grass glows slightly under your weight, like it's grateful for your presence. And the music continues, layered, endless, unrehearsed. Some parts are loud, joyful, wild, filled with shouts of praise. Others are soft whispers, tears, questions that rose like incense and never came back with answers, only peace. You lie down and let the music move through you, and then you notice something else. Every soul in heaven hears a different melody. Not because heaven is divided, but because love is intimate. Your song is yours, not in isolation, but in harmony, and yet it keeps changing. Even now, as you rest, new notes form. Someone just forgave you on earth. The tone deepens. Someone just remembered your words and smiled. A harmony blooms. Someone just whispered your name with love. A note is born, and you finally understand the soundtrack of heaven is still being written. It's not the polished perfection of performance. It's the living breath of every soul echoing God's presence in their own way. A baby's first cry, a rebel's last prayer, a widow's quiet faith, a martyr's final hymn, a moment of awe too deep for words. It's all here, and when you get quiet enough, you hear the Father's own voice not above or apart from the music, but through it. He doesn't sing over you. He sings with you. Your life became part of the divine harmony not because you were perfect, but because you loved. You rise slowly, every cell in your soul vibrating with sound. You walk once more, but now you carry the music inside you. And with every step it plays, not to impress, but to remind that heaven is not quiet. It's composed, and you're a note that will never fade. The field softens behind you, and the music does not end. It simply drifts into your bones, where it will stay. Every breath you take from now on carries rhythm. Every thought hums with harmony. You walk now through a passage of light. It doesn't glow, it remembers. The walls on either side aren't made of stone or cloud or gold. They're made of names. Thousands, millions. Each etched not by hand but by love. You run your fingers along the first few. They glow as you touch them, briefly pulsing with something like joy. You see names you've never heard before. But heaven has. Heaven always did. This is the hall of the remembered. These aren't the famous or the sainted. They're the faithful, the quiet, the kind, the ones who lived well without applause. You pause at one glowing inscription, a woman's name, no titles, no praise, just a name. As you rest your hand there, the wall shifts. A memory blooms. She was a seamstress. She prayed every morning before her first stitch. She fed stray cats even when she couldn't feed herself. She sang softly to God while folding linens, and her voice softened the grief of an angel passing by. No one on earth wrote her story, but heaven did. You move on. A boy's name. Barely 10 when he died. But his smile made a nurse believe in God again. And one bedtime prayer he whispered in the dark rippled through time like a comet of mercy. You thought heaven only honored the great. Here you see the truth. Heaven honors the good, even if the world never noticed. Especially then. Further down, you see names written in light so soft they almost vanish. But when you draw close, they shine. These are the ones who died unseen. The ones forgotten in the margins. The outcast. The abandoned. The misunderstood. You feel your throat tighten, because they were never nameless to heaven. They were always beloved, and their light here, brighter than kings. The angel beside you finally speaks again, its voice, like the echo of a bell struck in a memory. These names are sung daily. You turn, sung. The angel nods. Each day in heaven begins with their names. Not shouted, not chanted, whispered. By God himself. You look ahead. The hall goes on. But now something changes. You see your name, not glowing, not grand, but waiting. It's not placed higher than the others. It's simply yours, written with the same reverence as every other, and beside it not achievements. Not sins, just moments. You see, The time you forgave when you didn't have to. The time you told someone the truth even though your voice shook. The time you held someone while they wept and you didn't rush them. These are what the wall remembers. Not the titles, not the failures, just the parts that resembled God. You place your hand gently on your own name, and it sings, low, gentle, a song only you can hear. You don't cry. Because this is not a moment for grief. It's for recognition. You belong here. Not because you were perfect, but because you were known, fully, deeply, and still loved. You walk onward and the walls begin to curve, hugging you like arms. More names, more stories. And you realize heaven is not built on glory. It is built on remembrance, and one day every soul who feels forgotten will find their name glowing in a hall like this. Because in God's house, no one is lost, no one is lesser, no one is left off the list, only remembered, forever. The hall of the remembered begins to narrow gently now, as if guiding you toward a final room where silence becomes something sacred. The walls of names recede behind you, glowing like a library left open just for your soul to wander forever, available, never closed. What lies ahead feels different. Not brighter, not louder, just closer. Like God is no longer above or beyond, but within reach. You step into a circular chamber made of what looks like living light. There are no seams, no shadows. The entire space glows with a quiet stillness, like the inside of a thought God never stopped thinking. And in the center of the room floats something you've seen glimpses of before, but now it's whole. It's your crown. Not a metal band, not a jeweled trophy. It's woven from things you never expected. Kindness, restraint, tears you cried in private that watered someone else's hope, smiles you offered when your heart was breaking, jokes you cracked to keep someone else from falling apart. The crown doesn't sit heavy in the air. It hovers like worship. You reach out, but you don't grab it. You recognize it. This isn't your reward. This is your reflection. The you that heaven always saw. The you that Jesus never stopped loving. The you that the angels quietly cheered on while you thought no one was looking. Some say we will cast our crowns before the throne. But here before that moment, you simply see it. And in doing so, something deep in your soul settles. You no longer have to wonder if it all mattered. It did. Every quiet act. Every burden you carried so others wouldn't have to. Every time you chose gentleness when anger begged for your voice. It mattered. It became something, not for glory, but for beauty. Then the walls shift, not turning, but becoming transparent. And through them, you see them. Everyone, your ancestors, your spiritual family, your once forgotten friends. They're not watching you in judgment. They're welcoming you. You don't hear applause. You hear understanding, because every soul here knows exactly what it cost you to become who you are. And none of them expect perfection. Only presence. Only arrival. You glance one last time at the crown. You don't put it on, you carry it inside. Because you know now your worth doesn't rest on your head. It flows from your heart. And as you step out of the chamber, the light behind you doesn't dim. It follows. It becomes part of you. The angel walks beside you again. No words pass between you, but you feel it. You are ready. Not to finish the journey, but to enter the center of it. One last path opens. Straight, radiant. Lined with everything you've ever loved. And at the end, a throne. Not distant. Not towering. Just present. As if the God who rules the cosmos stepped off his pedestal just to sit close. And now, you take your final steps. Not as a visitor, not as a dreamer, but as someone who is at last home. You walk toward the throne, not out of duty, out of belonging. The final steps aren't heavy. They feel like completion, like returning to a song you didn't realize you were humming all your life. The throne ahead isn't what you expected. It doesn't loom, it welcomes. Crafted not from stone or metal, but from presence itself, pure and bright, pulsing gently like the heart of all creation. You don't see a figure seated there right away. You feel it first. God, not as concept, not as fire, as Father. The air folds in softer than silence. And then, he stands. He stands for you, not to exalt you, to embrace you. The moment you see his face, everything inside you lets go. Every question, every fear, every second you thought you weren't enough, every scar that lingered after the wound had healed. They all dissolve in the gaze of the one who made you on purpose. He opens his arms. You don't walk, you run. Like a child running to someone who already knows every mistake and loves deeper because of them. And when he wraps his arms around you, you realize, this is the embrace you've been aching for your entire life. There are no words, only knowing. He doesn't rush the moment. He holds you like someone who has waited for this day since time began. When you finally lean back, he cups your face not with fire, not with lightning, but with hands more gentle than memory. And he says one thing, only one, but it becomes the foundation beneath your eternity. You're exactly who I hoped you'd become, not despite your journey, because of it. You fall to your knees, not in shame, in reverence, in joy too big to contain. The throne pulses once more, and God places something into your hands. Not gold, not jewels, a seed. You look at him confused. He smiles, because love still grows, even here. You understand, heaven isn't static, it's alive. And your love is still a living thing. You rise again, not taller, not grander, just whole. Around you, all of heaven exults not in noise, but in light. The angels smile, the stars lean in, the garden rustles, the river stirs, the gates stand wide open, and your name, your real name, the one spoken in the quiet chambers of God's heart, echoes gently across eternity. Not shouted, not announced, cherished, forever. You walk once more, not to explore, to abide. You see the city in the distance, the music still plays, the tree still sings, the children still pray, the roads still shine, and somewhere someone on earth just made a choice toward love. And a new note is written into heaven's song, because even now eternity is expanding. You take a final breath, if breath even exists here, and close your eyes, not to sleep, but to rest, completely, finally, forever. So now just rest. Let your soul settle in the quiet afterglow of what's been spoken, not as a story, but as something deeper, something remembered. Breathe in, let the light linger. You've walked through gates and gardens, stars, and silence glimpses of heaven whispered softly through second-person peace. And somewhere along the way, something inside you loosened. Maybe it was fear, maybe regret, maybe just the long, aching weariness that we all carry after too many days spent trying to hold the world together. Let it fall now. Let it all go. Because in this space, in this final stillness, you are held by more than words. You are carried by the same love that shaped galaxies and gently braided your soul into time. You have been seen, you have been kept. You have always belonged. So as the last lights dim behind your eyes, imagine again that soft field, that glowing tree, that hush of stars humming above New Jerusalem. And picture him waiting, not with judgment, with joy. He sees you. He hears you. He knows you. Sleep now, beloved. Heaven is near. And love never ends. End of script. Sweet dreams.